Alrighty guys, so I'm going to be covering the issue with E.A. Dawa. And for those who don't know, E.A. Dawa has pled guilty to 2 counts of sex battery and has been sentenced to 12 years in prison. Now, that being said, when he gets out, he'll have to register as a Tier 3 sex offender. And that means he has to check in at the sheriff's office every 90 days for the rest of his life. That being said, the reason why I'm putting out this video is because a lot of the E.A. Dawa fans don't know that basic information that I'm giving you. They've also been told a lot of misleading information, false characterizations of the victim, of the mom and the daughter. And so what I will do initially, though, is I'm going to read a statement from the victim's mom, get you guys up to speed. Then I'll show you clips, cut in and out. Very important thing, though, right now to get out of the way. There is a GoFundMe in the chat in the bottom for her to help her out going through this difficult time, situations that she needs money for. And so please check that out. So if I have something important to show you, like a screenshot, it'll be here, right over my Voice of the Martyrs map. If I have a clip, it'll take the full screen, and here we go. So what I'm about to read to you now is from the mother of the victim, her statement concerning the situation and addressing some of the misinformation that's been out there. Now, for those who don't know, Khalil has a large YouTube presence. She does not. So while she's been quiet, she hasn't had this platform to clear up these things because there's certain things she could not talk about. Khalil did have a large platform and often tried to discredit her. Khalil's new Muslim wife often declared and tried to discredit her, as you'll see in some of the clips that I'm showing you. And those clips will come a little bit later in the video. And she says, and I quote, "Some of you absolutely disgust me. Thanks to some in the YouTube and Discord communities, it has been made clear to me that there are many people seriously misinformed about the recent legalities involving my husband, Justin Downing. Yes, he is still my husband. I have no money to file for divorce and am on a waiting list with legal aid to help file for divorce." Now, she says to clarify, and she does these by points. This was not religious persecution. Justin was a piece of blank before his conversion. Justin took advantage of his Muslim supporters to gain a wall of sympathy, a wall of virtual defense and money. Also, I have seen many throughout the YouTube community take advantage of the situation to defend and support their hate of the religion of Islam. That's disgusting. Some believe that Justin became a Muslim because he was a PEDO. I don't believe that. He became a Muslim because he genuinely believed Islam to be the answer. The various forms of abuse Justin perpetrated upon us, he did as an atheist and as a Muslim. Despite my beliefs, I was supportive as I could be of Justin's conversion. Now, I was there, guys, when this happened, meaning when he converted to Islam, and she was very supportive. Now, there were some, tension, but a lot of those tensions seemed to involve actions that Khalil did. Like, he was completely fine with his wife can do her thing, he can do his thing. And then the next I know, he's in one of the chats telling us that he let them know that the Christmas trees would have to go in about a couple of years. Point number 2, and she says, I left Justin and got a protection order because he was abusive to us all. I was unaware of the extent until my child's disclosure 5 days after he was moved from the home. Why? Because she finally felt blanking safe. Guys, that's something that is a former victim of sex abuse, like myself. I know what this feels like, that there's, you feel so ashamed. You don't know if you did something wrong. You're such a young kid. And I was very young when these events happened to me. So I can relate to needing a safe place to talk about these things. And for a period of time, I didn't talk about my abuse because I didn't feel safe either. And then it goes on to point number 3. The charges were not a result of hearsay evidence. My child's abuse claims were supported by DNA, not saliva, like Richard Madson's claimed. Evidence that was found by means of forensic testing in multiple rooms from multiple locations disclosed by my child. So that's one big thing that has been coming out, is there's accusations that all the prosecution had was just a statement from one person, and that's not the case, guys. All right, guys, point number 4. I did not coach my daughter. You can't coach the details of this case, many of which are still unknown to me, and you can't coach DNA. Point number 5, despite what Richard Madsen claimed, Justin had great legal representation. That's why they have the awards they do, and the reason why the judge chose the bond he did. The judge chose the bond he did because, according to him, he knew how much Justin was paying for legal counsel and believed that that was a sign he would take it all seriously and was not a flight risk. So part of the narrative that was put out was that the reason why the judge gave a low bond was because the evidence wasn't good. The other narrative that was put out was that Khalil Allah did not have good legal representation or couldn't afford legal representation. The thing is that his lawyer was one of the best in this particular state. During arguments, he told me he would KIL me if I left him. I made excuses for it because, sometimes people say hurtful things they don't mean when they're mad. At the very end, before we separated, I realized that he may have been serious when he was saying these things. Now I believe he was. Number 7, my child is not his only victim, but unfortunately, may be the only one that has or will ever see true justice. The strength of his victims deserve to be acknowledged. Now, there's some pictures that I'm going to put up at the top, and some of these are pictures of his hand after punching a wall. I'm also going to show you a video conversation that they had, where in the video it appears that he would not let her leave the house, wouldn't give her her phone. He had just thrown a bowl of chili at her. You will get to hear that conversation. And like I said, the main purpose of this video is to clear up the misinformation and to give a voice to the victims. Also, please remember as you're watching this that the GoFundMe is in the chat. Now for the first clip. In this particular video, you are going to see them setting up a question to Chloe, who is Justin's Islamic wife, and then she's going to respond. And then I'm also going to show you a photo of the chili that was thrown. And then I'm also going to show you that video I just talked about a minute ago, where those two have a conversation. Then I'll cut back in and set up the next one for you.
So, is this the first allegation of this sort that he's had?
As far as I'm aware.
And can I just ask, you said that she tried to press charges against him because he's an charges that he's an extremist? What was the violation?
She had tried to press charges of domestic violence because...
Oh, domestic violence, okay.
Yeah, because they were in a disagreement, and this is all verifiable, public record, feel free. I guess they were in a disagreement, and she said, well, you don't even care about your kids. He got frustrated and threw a bowl of chili. The chili got on her. She didn't get hit at all, and then filed those charges.
And they were dismissed?
Yes. Well,
okay.
She had originally requested 5 years for her daughter, and their son. Her daughter has the 5, because Khalil didn't argue that at all. And then she has 1 year, and then their son, he does have visitation with his son.
So it wasn't dismissed?
It was, there is a possibility of a potential threat of violence. That is what the judge said. Possibility of a potential. Like, nothing was substantiated.
What matters more than your kids and their well-being?
You just threw fucking chili at me.
Because you just told me I didn't care about any of my kids.
Well, you're acting as if you don't. Even the kids in this fucking house. And then And then,
Things I don't care about.
and then you prevent me from going out to my car, and you take my phone away from me, so I can't try to call for help in any way, shape, or form, whether it's police or whether it's my fucking family or a friend. You hold me hostage
I
in this
didn't hold
fucking
you
house.
hostage at all. I said you are free to leave the house.
But I wanted my phone so I could contact people
There was a phone that you could use.
in this house.
Why do you have to be outside of the house to contact people?
Why
We got
do I-
plenty of service in it.
I want my phone. I don't want to be around you.
You need to realize that you said a lot of shitty stuff today, and so did I. You need to stop trying to jump to these extremes. If we're going to do this, we're going to do this slowly. We're slowly going to get out of each other's lives. We can't just do this abrupt. Financially, we can't do it. Do you really think he really needs to go through this type of change? With how unstable she already is? Do you really want to have a broken family? All because you don't like us. Now you have your other reasons, and I have my other reasons. But these aren't things that these aren't things that nobody else goes through, that no other married couple has to tackle. It's the same shit that everybody else deals with.
All right, to set up this next clip. So there were accusations in the past. Now, none of these accusations led to any kind of indictment or formalized court proceeding. So instead of me giving you what I know of that, I'm just going to let Khalil Allah give it to you in his own words. Also, in this first clip before that, you're going to see that it seems like his Islamic wife may not have known about those events when she spoke in the interview with Tom Rabbit. And then I'll cue up the next clip and just kind of keep going. There might be some clips that I don't break in between because I just want you to see like the multiple clips together. That way you get more of the context. Also, I've been told that these other videos will be coming out at some point on one of the bigger channels who recorded them.
Just to be clear, John Lee notified the entire room that there's been a history of sexual assault allegations alleged against Khalil. He actually used this idea to forward the hypothesis that because of these previous allegations, the ex-wife would see it as more likely being believable. So you might want to investigate that because skepticism is going to work both ways.
Let's go back to Washington, because you like to keep bringing that up. There was a case in Washington to where it wasn't even a case. It didn't even make it to a case, right? There was a claim that was made by my ex-wife that she thought that I did something with my daughter 3 years prior to her making the claim when my daughter was like 3 years old. They did an investigation. The person said, no, she's never been touched. These kids haven't been messed with.
So why didn't you
dropped
contest
the
it then?
case. They completely dropped the case.
Why didn't you? Didn't know? No, it was.
Show me where there was charges. Please show me an indictment in Washington State in 2017. I'll wait.
Okay, do you know the difference
There
between
was never an indictment in Washington State, Sydney. That's why, because the whole thing was dropped. See.
Okay, on the screen there is a Pierce County Superior Court civil case. Justin, there are no indictments in civil cases. Do you accept that?
Yes, what you're bringing up is an amendment to a parenting plan.
Is that right? Why is it called
that's
domestic?
Exactly what it is.
Oh, really? Then, then why does it say Why does it say domestic violence?
Because that's the claim.
How's the parenting plan? How come it's an order for a
Emergency custody?
No, doesn't say anything about emergency custody. You had to remember you had to surrender your weapon for this one. Remember? You know what I'm talking about? Look at the screen. Look at the screen.
I don't own a weapon.
Yeah.
Hold on, I
Look
can't
at the
see the screen.
Okay, I'll read it to you. There are it's Pierce County Superior Civil Court Case 17-2-00827-9.
Keep going.
So you do know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about, but
then why are you denying it?
There was a case. Show me where there were charges filed. Show me a parenting plan
I don't
amendment.
think you've.
Show me an indictment like you did with my recent case. Show me that in Washington.
It's not, dude. It's a civil case. There's no indictments in civil cases.
Exactly. That means there was no criminal charges, you dumbass.
I never said there was criminal charges in 2017. It's a civil case. I've said that all along, that there were civil cases in No. I'm not going to let you get away with this. I said there was a civil case in 2017. The litigants were your wife and your 2 children against you for domestic violence.
And so the next clip is just a small clip from the interview that Tom did with Chloe. And you can find the full unedited video of this on Tom Rabbit. But this will kind of set up some of the issues that I talked about the things that were being said negative about the victim and the mother.
And I have no regrets. He's an excellent father. The problem is that she doesn't want their son raised in our faith, which, when the child was born, they agreed upon it, and now they don't. I can see why that would be frustrating or disappointing. But to go to such measures to keep a child from their parent is heinous. And the truth will come out. That's the whole purpose of the judicial system, right? So, I understand that there's people who will hate my husband and who will think that this is funny. I personally don't think that having to pay $15,000 to defend someone's innocence is funny. And that's without interest, by the way, to pay it back. But, it's, again, you guys are going to think what you want to think, and, there's nothing I can do about that. But the fact of the matter is, as atheists, I would hope that you would be consistent in remaining just as skeptical of a claim that has no substantiation as of yet, and not legally, not in any system. Literally, testimony is enough to press charges, by the way.
Is that all that exists, to your knowledge?
Yes, that is all that exists. They investigated for over 6 months and didn't find jack shit, which is why the charges are less. They did all the rape kits. Nothing.
Wait,
They
did rape kits on a.
They did the original claims I said were worse than the charges. So.
Can you tell us what those were?
No.
Well, it sounds like rape, right?
Yeah, it was exponentially worse than what was written on the indictment, which his ex-wife is spreading around.
So the next clip is a controversial clip, and this was one that sets up some of the issues and some of the things that people have had with Khalil online, kind of separate from this, but still tied into the nature of some of his thought process. And this is when he talked about what he could do and could not do to David Wood in an Islamic State.
I'm in America, so the question that was asked to me was, well, would you kill David Wood? I'm like, here? No, I have no reason to kill David Wood here. I mean, I'm under a different set of laws. I'm under a different law of the land. But in an Islamic state, what's stopping me legally from going and killing someone that's blaspheming against the prophet or God himself?
If you go do anything to him somewhere where you're going to be able to go to jail, then
that's fine. Then I could go to jail with a smile on my face, knowing that I made God happy.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool for you, right? I mean, keep talking. That's great. But you're not doing anything good for the religion of peace by saying stuff like that. But
right.
At the end of the day,
that's your opinion. You're free to believe that. I think I'm lining up exactly with what the religion teaches.
The next two clips are just highlighting what I've said about how fast Chloe and Khalil got to know each other. And I wanted you to hear that in Chloe's own words, because she said that it was about a week's time from when they started having romantic feelings for one another. Now, she also recognizes that this is a point of criticism on her, because that's not really necessarily enough time to get to know someone. So I just want to play that in its entirety and let the clips speak for themselves.
Another thing people are confused about, are you two legally married, or is he still legally married to her? I understand y'all
We
went through
are
a ceremony.
Islamically married. He is still legally married to her. We had wanted to process that divorce sooner, but because the investigation was ongoing, we were trying to save for this first, if that makes sense. I want to just make it clear that I'm not just accepting the word of my husband on blind faith. Whether you agree that we're married or not, I really don't give a shit. Because pagans have hand fasting, so I'm really not trying to hear any of that. The fact of the matter is it's not just I took his word. Part of the courting process in finding a spouse in Islam is that you run them through the ringer. Now, of course, your skepticism will be that it was not a lot of amount of time. That's fine.
What was the amount of
However,
time that y'all courted?
that we knew each other, or that we were actively intending to get married.
I guess from when you expressed romantic concern to like moving in and being together.
1 week. Like I said, you may remain skeptical about the amount of time. That's fine. But the fact of the matter is that, so we started talking on a Monday, expressing romantic interest. By Wednesday, at our first face-to-face meeting, he literally laid it out on the table. And for me, it's like, if someone's gonna hide, if someone's like, guilty people don't just throw it all out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, they like to kind of keep it hidden. So the fact that he was immediately transparent with me, with all of the allegations, all of the facts, and everything, knowing full well that I could walk away, and still presented all of that to me off the jump. Like, first time we're meeting in person, face to face, lets me know this off the jump. Like, as unsettling as hearing that those kind of allegations were made was to me, because it was quite unsettling, the level of transparency that he gave from the beginning with me was like, oh, well, if he was guilty, he wouldn't have done that, you know? So I don't know if that answers your question. Does that answer your question, Philip?
Wouldn't that be the move, though, if he wanted to convince you? Right?
What, can you explain what you mean, please?
Well, your thought process there, wouldn't it work both ways? That he's acting this way to make me think that he's innocent?
Well, why wouldn't he just kept it hidden and pretended like nothing was wrong with him? Wouldn't a narcissist?
Well, because if he's thinking ahead, he's realizing that you'll find out eventually. So
This next series of clips that I want to show you is, once again, small clips from the bigger conversation. The bigger conversations will come out, but those will be posted on other YouTube channels. And I will try to share those videos out as they come. That being said, to set this one up, this is Godless Girl, Khalil Allah, once again talking on the public platform of Clubhouse. This replay still even exists. You can go back and find it. And in this, they are having a conversation about the charges, court, and other things.
Yeah, well, anyway, and like for somebody who's truly guilty of these types of claims, would you really see them online anymore? Like, I still stream on YouTube every single night almost. I still come on here frequently.
I don't think that's like a good defense. There's been like a lot of like sick, mentally ill people. What was that one guy who who debated Jack about libertarian free will that was like arrested for like child porn
Oh, Matt
regardless?
Bell, yeah. So Khalil,
Yeah.
I do hear like the passion in your voice. I believe you're innocent just from the way I can hear you like fuming about it. But no, we did used to have this guy though, Matt Bell, who like tried kids or something, and he used to put a Freddy Krueger avatar on his face for his avatar. And it was like his inside joke to himself because he was a child predator and like proud of it. So he would sit there talking to us with his Freddy Krueger avatar. Oh yeah, he was guilty. He's in prison. But
Yeah, there's like a video of him getting arrested, I think.
yeah, I believe
That's true.
you're
Yeah, but
innocent.
getting arrested is one thing, but I mean, like being convicted. I mean, there's still it's up to the interpretation of the jury, right? So you could. People have been put in prison for these same exact claims simply off of testimony alone. So just the witness or the victim itself presenting a good testimony to the jury taking it heartfelt, and that right there. So that's like my word. But this is that this in fact
Your mic is really bad.
You're
in
breaking
the
up.
test.
Are you worried that's gonna happen with
Because I
him?
mean, I've
The thing,
already
hold on. The
I've
thing I
already
wanted to
I
say
already
in
know
regards,
I already know of
you're
all of the
breaking up.
evidence
Discriminated
that can
against
arise.
you because you're Muslim.
That's another worry that I have because I'm not going to show up there looking like a non-Muslim. Like I wear a kufi every single day. Like I'm going to go in there with a suit on, but I'm going to be representing Islam. You know, I'm going to be going in there as a Muslim, as a proud Muslim.
So in Islam, it's not
Controversy.
like you don't like turn over like a Christian would like pray and like God, please remove my fear and turn their will over to God about it. But in Islam, that's not really the case, right?
No, I mean I still do the same thing. I still pray to God and ask Him to help me out with this. He wants me to ask Him for things, but I mean it's not. It's I mean I really don't know how to explain the difference between the two. I think they're fairly the same, except I don't use my God as a vending machine, and then I'm pissed off when things don't go my way. Like if I end up going to prison, it's willed by God for me to go to prison. So I'm going to go in there, and that's just giving me time to study. And I'm going to come out a scholar. One way or another, there's going to be something positive that comes from this.
Oh well, I hope you get found in this.
I do too.
What's the evidence? Is it just like the mother?
I can't discuss the evidence.
All right.
Yeah. But with the way that I'm presenting myself, hopefully you can see that the evidence is not super strong at all. They do have something that they're alluding to trying to be their smoking gun, but it's hopefully it's it's not they're not going to fall for it.
Yeah, you don't sound very concerned about being found guilty, I guess. But it sucks like how there's so much time in between court dates. So you got to have the anxiety, build up and shit.
Yeah, it's definitely mentally draining.
The next clip I want to show is a conversation that Apostate Prophet and David Wood actually had. Would be now yesterday as I'm finishing this up at like 3:30 in the morning on a Sunday. And then I've still got church, so it's going to be coffee. That being said, Apostate Prophet mentions that I was the one who sent him the information about Khalil Allah, the links to the public stuff. Yes, that is true. Apostate Prophet makes a thought as to why, I did so or why I followed this so closely, and he's right. I considered Khalil Allah a friend. I introduced him to some of the bigger atheists and some of the big Christians in the community, and I platformed him periodically. And the whole entire time this despicable thing was happening to his stepchild. And so it's one of those things that I felt like there was an obligation, one, for the victim to give her a voice, and two, to make sure that people know firmly my stance on the situation, and that is that Khalil Allah is guilty. I do not consider him a friend, and I don't believe that anybody should plan on platforming him in the future when he gets out of prison. And now let me play that clip.
Oh, here.
Oh, there's James.
Speaking
Sorry.
of him,
Oh.
James is tired. Hey, James, what's up? I didn't want to mention his name, but he's been on top of this whole issue with EA Dawa and everything from the very beginning. He also informed me about the developments, but since he's making himself public here, I would happily like to give him the credit. He said, "I know the case. If you have any questions."
So ladies and gentlemen, if you've been bothered or disturbed by anything during this live stream, don't blame us. Blame James is tired. He's the one who set everything in motion. So.
Oh, James Tired said, Apostate Prophet, I'm doing a video tomorrow with clips of Khalilullah and others discussing the case. Good. I will follow up and I will probably also share that. James is actually, he has a history and a friendship with many of the people who were atheists, Christians, and Muslims discussing on a smaller scale religion. And he also had a long history with this guy, Justin Downing, or Khalilullah, who was now convicted for child abuse or sexual abuse of a child. He's also the one who put me in contact with Justin and who made it possible for us to have a live discussion about Islam. Of course, he had no idea that while all of this was happening, that guy Justin was sexually abusing a child at home. So he is disgusted by all of this too, and he is following and sharing stuff about it. And I'm pretty sure he feels like he has a responsibility here. And I'm very happy that he has informed me and the public about all that is happening.
All right, guys. There you have it. This is this in a nutshell. Khalilullah has pled guilty to 2 counts of SEX battery, and in doing so has been sentenced to 12 years in prison. I laid out the fact that he will have to register as a Tier 3 sex offender in Ohio, which is the highest register point. It also means he's got to check in with the sheriff's office every 90 days. These consequences are severe, but the actions that he perpetrated are also severe. And also, I want to really stress this. It's very important in these situations that while we talk about, hey, let's not say someone's guilty before they're convicted, you also should not turn and go the polar opposite and defend them tooth or nail. Defend them without even knowing all the facts, without even taking the time to research anything. Everything that I've shown you can be easily found in the public records, or can be found by a few searches online, or just by following the things as they happen. And so it's very important that us in the future, not just me, but that we pay very close attention when these things happen. We protect the victim. We try not to jump to judgment too early, but you also do not put a blind defense of someone and then end up victim shaming and victim blaming, which is what my personal opinion is that happened. And the last thing I'll say is, until next time, guys, take care of each other.